Hello coders. Let's start with the solution of starters 241 second question. Even sum. You are given an array A of n elements. You must perform exactly one move. In this move, you have to choose an index I and remove AI from the array. Determine whether there exists an index I such that after removing AI, the sum of the remaining elements is even. So what we have to do is remove an element at I index from the array and calculate the sum of the rest of the elements and check whether the sum that we calculated is even or not. So for this, we start by creating a Boolean variable b and setting it to false. This variable will act as a flag to check whether the removing an element from an array can make the sum of the remaining elements even or not. Next, we go through each element of the array one by one. For every element, we first save its value in a temporary variable that we taken as temp and then remove it from the array list. After removing the element, we calculate the sum of all the remaining elements in the list. Once the sum is calculated, we check if it is even using the condition s mod 2 equals 0. If the sum turns to be even, we set b to true and stop the loop immediately because we have already found a valid element whose removal satisfies the condition. If the sum is not even, the current element is not the current choice. In that case, we insert the removed element back into its uh, original position using list add I, temp. Here I is the index and temp is the variable. And continue checking the next element. After trying all possible removals, we will look at the value of b. If it is true, we will print yes, and if it is false, we will print no. So now let's come to the third question, sum reduction. Here you are given an array A of n elements. In one operation, you may choose two distinct indices I and j such that the bitwise AND of AI and AJ is 0. That is, AI and AJ is equals to 0. Then we have to remove both AI and AJ from the array and insert their sum, AI plus AJ, back into the array. Determine whether it is possible to reduce the array to exactly one element after performing a finite number of operations. So before understanding the condition used in the code, we need to understand what is bitwise AND operator. A bitwise AND operator compares the binary representation of two numbers bit by bit. Like, for example, it returns 1 only if both bits are 1. Otherwise, it will return 0. For example, if we take 1 and 2, their binary representation will be 001 and 010. Performing bitwise AND, we will get 000, which will be equals to 0. Meanwhile, if we perform the same operation on 3 and 3, so 1 1 will be 1, 1 1 will be 1, and 0 will be 0. So the output will be 3 itself. Now, coming to the solution, here, let's see the solution. After storing all the inputs in the array, we create a Boolean variable m and initialize it to true. This variable helps us to keep track of whether a valid operation was performed during the current iteration. Next, we run a while loop as long as the list contains more than one element. Since our objective is to reduce the entire list into a single value, at the beginning of each iteration, we set m to false, assuming this is an assumption that no valid pair exists. Now, we use two nested loops to examine every possible pair of the elements in the list. For each pair, we perform a bitwise AND operation. To get elements, we will use list.get I, and list.getJ. It will be fetching the elements at ith index and jth index in the array and calculating their bitwise AND and comparing if it is equals to 0 or not. If it is equals to 0, we will store their sum in a variable sum. We then remove both elements from the list and insert their sum back into the list. Since a successful operation has been performed, we set m equals to true and break out of the loop so that the process can restart with the updated list. If no valid pair is found after checking all possible combinations, m remains false. In that case, we exit the while loop because no further operation can be performed. After the loop ends, we simply check the size of the list if only the one element remains. We successfully merged all elements into a single value. So we can print yes. Otherwise, we will print no. Here's one thing why we have used list.size in spite of using n, where n is the size of the array and this will also be returning the size of the array. This is because the size of array is dynamic. It is decreasing by 1 after a successful merging operation. So we will have to use list.size in order to uh, have our code correctly. So now let's continue with our fourth question. Number 3 equal. You have a string S of length n consisting of lowercase English characters. You say that a string is good if there is no index I such that I is between 1 and n minus 2 and Si is equals to Si plus 1 which is equals to Si plus 2. Find the minimum number of edits you need to make to the string to make it good. Each edit is changing one character to any other lowercase English character. In this solution, we are given a string consisting of characters and we need to count how many groups of 3 consecutive identical characters can be formed. We start by taking the input string and initializing two variables r, which will be storing the final answer, and L, which will be helping us to track the length of the current continuous group of identical characters. Initially, L is set to 1 because the first character itself forms a group of length 1. Then we traverse the string through the second character onwards. For each character, we compare it with the previous characters. If the characters are same, it means the current group is continuing. So we increase the L by 1. If the characters are different, it means the current group has ended. At this point, we calculate how many complete sets of 3 characters can be formed uh, from the group using L by 3 and add the result to R. After that, we reset L to 1 to start counting the new group. Once the loop finishes, there is still one final group that has not been processed. So we again add L by 3 to R. Finally, R contains the total number of operations or complete group of 3 identical consecutive characters that can be formed from the entire string, and value is printed as the output. If you found these solution videos helpful, please like the video, share it to your friends, and don't forget to subscribe GTG Triple MUT. Thank you.